and welcome to the Rude Awakenings podcast. I'm Justin Ruth. You can call me Rudy. This episode's the first entry into the Cine-File, my movie recap review podcasts. Full disclosure on this one. One of my favorite podcasts is a podcast that the Winger puts out called The Rewatchables. And the Cine-File podcasts, especially early on, basically gonna be a lower rent version of those. I kind of just copied the format that the Rewatchables use because I think it's the best one, and I think it's the best way to give a podcast like talking about a cheesy 80s movie or a action 90s movie. It's the best way to give podcasts like that structure. So as I do these, I'm hoping I kind of get my own voice and they kind of become my own podcast, but you can hold back on all the texts or all the comments saying that I'm just copying the Rewatchables, because I know I'm copying the Rewatchables. That's kind of the whole point. So now that that's out of the way, let's get to the actual podcast. I was joined by my old podcasting partner, AC, and there's only one movie we had to do to launch the Cine-File, and that is the one, the only Roundhouse.
Can I buy you guys a drink? Guess not.
Patrick Swayze is
Dalton.
I thought you'd be bigger.
Opinions vary.
When he's around, anything can happen,
How does a guy like you end up a bouncer?
Just lucky, I guess.
and usually does.
If somebody gets in your face, I want you to be nice.
Don't be rude! Ask him to walk, but be nice. Help this gentleman to the door. Until it's time to not be nice.
So says the fighting philosopher.
He may be hard to handle,
I keep talking, you're gonna go off thinking I'm a nice guy.
I know you're not a nice guy.
but he's easy to like.
What's the matter, Dalton? Don't you like women?
The worst I ever had was wonderful.
He's not what you'd expect,
I thought you'd be bigger.
but there's one thing you can count on. He's the best friend a good time ever had.
You guys tired?
Doc, I'll get all the sleep I need when I'm dead. This is my town.
I'm not afraid of him.
I guess you'll be having that fire sale now, all right? You got your hands full, kid.
I just think I'm looking at a dead man.
Patrick Swayze,
For that line of work, I thought you'd be bigger.
Gee, I've never heard that before.
Roundhouse.
Roundhouse. We finally got it. I'm Aaron Clark's across from me. It's like old time's sake. It's just you gotta get your sea legs back under you. Gotta get the MPH back on the fastball.
There is nothing better to get you just locked into the zone than like an hour and 45 minutes of breaking down roundhouse kicks from Dalton.
Like, I'm shooting for this to only be 45 minutes. If we go an extra hour, nothing will shock me the least.
It might just turn into a scene for scene. We might restart the movie at some point in here just to like
just do a running commentary
Yeah.
track. So, Roundhouse, released May 19th, 1989.
national holiday, I think.
Here's the entire IMDb plot summary. A tough bouncer is hired to tame a dirty bar. Period. End sentence. Full context.
Roll credits. No, nothing else needed.
IMDb gives it a 6.6 out of 10, which I think's a little low. Rotten Tomatoes, 38%. What the fuck is wrong with you people?
So we'll separate Roadhouse from this conversation for the time being. When it comes to online ratings, is there a factor that plays into them, whether it's Rotten Tomatoes or IMDb, the cultural relevance of a movie versus, or is it just solely on cinematography and audience enjoyment?
I think IMDb is the only thing. Like, I tend to go by that a little bit more because that's definitely more the fan viewing of it. That's why you see, like, if you ever go on the IMDb top 100, like, there's, like, you know, superhero movies.
It's just like all like
yeah,
Waterboy.
Exactly. Yeah, it's stuff like that. As opposed to Rotten Tomatoes, I think is much more of a critical type, which is why I don't really go by Rotten Tomatoes. Give me IMDb trivia, and I'll kind of.
It's like the People's Choice Awards versus SAG.
Exactly. So
the SAG Awards.
you want it?
It's the Screen Actors Guild, Justin. Come on.
No, I know, but do you want to? It seems like you've got some SAG hot takes you want to start flying out.
Don't get me started on award season.
So let's just get right into it. Most rewatchable scene. These are the ones I have. Feel free for all these categories to throw out your notes.
I was saying we'll both follow up with our notes.
We both took notes during this. We're going to be breaking down Roadhouse like it's, like it's the Seventh Seal, or like it's like some really fine piece of, art cinema. So most rewatchable scene. Dalton arrives at the Double Deuce. The doctor visit. Ben Gazzara visits the bar, which turns into the dance scene from Gazzara's Woman, which turns into the first Jimmy versus Dalton fight. The car dealership scene with Bigfoot.
Just like a total throwaway scene.
The river fight. And then Dalton's final raid on the house. Which do you think is the most rewatchable scene?
So I have actually jotted down in my real-time notes that the opening bar fight at the Double Deuce is excellent, which is the Double Deuce introduction for Dalton.
Dalton arrives at the Double Deuce.
Opened by Terry Funk throwing a guy out by his belt loop saying, "Don't come back, Peckerhead."
Yeah.
Like, that introduction and the bar fight that ensues, it's almost Wild West in its attitude. And you get your first look at the cooler aspect of Dalton. He dodges a beer bottle thrown at him. He just kind of snickers as he looks around. All hell breaking loose.
It's so funny that you mentioned the Wild West, because I didn't have this in for trivia, but I read it, that apparently all the character names were inspired by characters from the Wild West. Wade Garrett is named after the person who killed Billy the Kid. Brad Wesley is the middle name of another famous outlaw. Like, they definitely took some inspirations from the Wild West for this movie.
I like to think Sam Elliott got some character notes for his role in Tombstone.
He saw
from this.
Roadhouse lays the foundation for Tombstone
In the Tombstone universe.
Yeah. Whenever I think of Roadhouse, I always think of the river fight scene. But upon this rewatch, I gotta agree with you. The introduction of the Double Deuce it gives you everything you need to know about Dalton. It kind of shows you all the kind of ancillary auxiliary characters that are involved. It gives you some great Jeff Healey, which we'll get to him later. And it really, really does kind of set up the movie. It gives you the key conflict of, it's not necessarily Swayze versus Gazzara. It's Swayze versus the Deuce. It's Swayze versus the bar.
Yeah, I mean, look, we made mention to it every time they did an outside pan shot of the bar. It's like you're actually seeing the place go from a destroyed, empty shell of a roadside shack to something that is reputable. I don't know in Jasper, Missouri, what clientele there is, but they turned it into some hot spot.
I liked how you coined it. It gets turned into an adult Chuck E. Cheese by the motif.
It's 1989. There's a lot of neon, exposed beam, painted brick. It's architecturally not the soundest looking.
Yeah.
Also, it's in Jasper, Missouri. Which needs to be discussed.
Not St. Louis, not Kansas City.
Right, like you said,
Jasper.
It's outside of Kansas City, but it's never like, oh, this is a suburb. They play every other angle of that town as like this bumpkin town.
Let me put it this way. You constantly referenced Missouri and how it's Jasper, Missouri. It never clicked with me that this is like outside of Kansas City. Like, I took this could be taking place outside of Kansas City, could be taking place of anywhere in the South. You point to the South, and I'm like, yeah, that's probably where the Double Deuce is.
Well, I mean, You were the one that astutely referenced the opening shot of Sam Elliott being at a titty bar in what you assumed was Florida. Like,
that place just screamed Fort Lauderdale. Like, it just...
Well, it was the banner that said wet G-string contest every day.
Yeah. Not even that. It was a wet T-shirt contest banner that they crossed out to make a G-string. Like, they couldn't even afford a new banner. That's Florida. That's the most Florida thing ever. All right, so we agree that the arrival at Dalton's arrival at the Double Deuce is the most rewatchable. What's age the best? Dalton having a junker car just so customers can wreck it? Fucking great. Like, that's
a great shtick.
The music, whether it's played by Jeff Healey or just even the orchestral soundtrack,
which exists. Anyone who hasn't watched Roadhouse in a while, go back and watch the, as Justin said, the waterside fight scene.
Yeah.
There's a legit action orchestral score behind it.
And I pointed out to you, like, I probably paid, let's say, $10 for this DVD. I will pay $50 if you can show me the footage of the John Williams orchestra playing live to the river fight scene in Roadhouse. That's comedy that, no Will Ferrell movie can match the comedy of that. So the music, Swayze plus his hair, because it's one thing just to say Swayze's aged the best in this movie, but his hair alone, which you kept bringing up, just his hair is perfect. It's perfectly that late 80s, early 90s. It's a mullet, but not really a mullet.
Think about how easy that would be to look back on and go, that's a dumb looking haircut.
Yeah.
I mean, you see it in tons of movies. We were talking about Youngbloods earlier.
Yeah.
There's a lot of dumb looking hair in that movie. Somehow, Swayze pulls off this weird mullet looking thing with no sweatbands. Now, there's a lot of working out in this movie. No sweatbands.
Yeah.
So it's got to stand on its own. It's nice.
The 80s women, it's often thought that the 80s was kind of the nadir of hotness when it comes to women, kind of in hindsight. But when you think women in the 80s, you think of every single woman that's in this movie. And I don't just mean Kelly Lynch and the Ben Gazzara's
stacked broad.
Yeah, Ben Gazzara's Anna Faris looking.
That's there you go.
It's just every extra, every female that is in this movie is the most quintessential. This woman was alive during the 80s.
Yeah.
And it's great to see in hindsight. Yeah. And then my final for what's aged the best is just Ben Gazzara. He's unbelievable in this. Every single scene Ben Gazzara is in, he's reminding the audience that he's evil.
I think it's Ben Gazzara, and I think the reason it works, he's the perfect actor for it, but the character is written perfectly for him, because you start the movie, as we mentioned, how many times as we're watching it, he's almost like a caricature of an evil guy. Right? He's wearing an ascot. He's got a white fedora on.
He always wears just all white,
right?
And just
he's got witty lines, and he's just kicking the shit out of his own guys, right?
Yeah.
But you see him almost devolve into as soon as he's confronted with his protagonist, right? He's confronted with Dalton, and he just devolves into an actual terrible human being.
It kind of makes sense that the big fight ends in his trophy room. Because everyone becomes very feral and just, I must kill. And
a movie that was based on knife fights and hand fights ends in a gun battle. It is one of the you just see a complete devolution of a character. I think it keeps the movie light, but also ends with a heavy note.
Yeah, I definitely.
And then Jeff Healey plays this out.
I definitely think Gazzara has aged the best, and like I said, how he's just always evil in this movie, to the point that he doesn't just drive down the road. He drives down the road while swerving into oncoming traffic, just on a whim,
singing duo.
Wow, he sings! no one does that. I pointed out to you that he's like a caricature of like an Olsen twins like movie. Like he's the most cartoony evil guy ever. And he's fantastic, which is that's why he's aged the best in this movie. Just his character, the entire character of Brad Wesley, is just so perfectly evil.
That's an interesting name,
just the
too.
fact that Brad Wesley.
I would like to look back, right? Just take a historical look. Now that we know that Brad Wesley in the movie was a Korean War veteran.
Yes.
How many Brads do you think fought in Korea? I feel like that's a newer name. That's an 80s name shoehorned into
Here's
that.
the thing, though. He would have just gone by Wesley because he's in the army.
But if we figure Brad Wesley, if he's the same age as Ben Gazzara, so born in 1930.
30. Yeah.
How many?
I looked it up. He's 59 in this movie.
I guess there's probably some Bradleys. I feel like the name Brad is much more of a
I think he
new
was
wave
Bradley, and
name.
then when he became this town-owning tycoon,
Some robber baron in Missouri,
it turned into Brad. It morphed into Brad. All right, so what's age of the worst? The sex scene between Dalton and the doc, Kelly Lynch. Just him slamming her against the brick wall and moving her up and down, like...
It's gratuitous.
It's just... sorry, that's just not working for anybody. Her back's getting messed up, his knees are getting scraped, it doesn't work. Dalton only paying $100 a month for rent. That hasn't aged well. I mean, I know that there's no AC, no heat. It's basically just this gorgeous loft that apparently has no electric, despite the fact that he plays a radio in it. But only $100, even for 1989. That's a little low. A monster truck being used as a recreational vehicle. Just even in 1989, the gas prices for that must have just been astronomical. And then Sam Elliott being killed off screen. Like, what the hell?
Yeah, I mean, I think all of those are totally valid things that if you could know what Roadhouse would be down the road, that you would have done differently.
If you could do a mulligan.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the answer is Sam Elliott kind of unceremoniously just being like shuffled off screen with a knife in his back and like, all right, well, this is the end. And here's the thing. There's no resolution to that in the way the movie ends, right? So Dalton goes berserk, revenges everyone, but then there's never the closure of like him burying him or visiting the gravestone. I mean, just movie tropes that at least like give you a sense of
what if they did like in Return of the Jedi, that you see like the ghost of Sam Elliott like overlooking him skinny dipping with Kelly Lynch at the end. If he was just like
him and Abe Lincoln and an alligator and they're just sitting on the fence waving.
They just went full Happy Gilmore. Just
be perfect.
For what's age the worst, I'm going just with a monster truck as a recreational vehicle. Monster trucks in general have not aged well. Like, remember during the era when monster trucks were just like the height of...
Sunday. Yeah, it's great.
Like, they were just the height of coolness.
I think the weirdest use for that in this movie is the fact that, in one scene... they just drive it to the parking lot to spy on Dalton. And you see it in the background, like it's just 2-story tall.
Let's go spy on the Double Deuce. Yeah. So do we want to take the sedan? No. Let's take the monster truck.
Yeah.
No one will notice it. And also, I imagine they're the only person in town who has a monster truck.
Well,
I mean,
certainly the only one that you see.
Yeah. All right, so I'm definitely going with that. Just the nothing says that this movie was released in the 80s, and the fact that just like a monster truck is like a prominent vehicle in the movie.
Yeah, it's...
So, the Dion Waiters Heat Check Award. So, for anyone who doesn't know what a heat check is, in basketball, it's basically when a player who isn't necessarily a superstar starts acting like a superstar. Wants to see how hot he is in a game. Now, I'm going to start taking these contested three-pointers, just even though I shouldn't be. So in movies, it's basically, this is the person who's not one of the stars of the movie, but is kind of doing the most with his screen time. Now, the real question is, does Sam Elliott qualify as a role player or a star?
It's tough. Sam Elliott in this movie is a role player.
Yes.
Sam Elliott in real life is a star and obviously grew into one and, is a legit actor. I think for the sake of the discussion, we should probably leave him out.
Okay. We'll leave him out. If he's definitely not... If he's coming...
Just because there's enough bit actors
If
here.
he's coming off the bench, he's definitely the sixth man. But he's still playing a hot... He's still got high usage. He's still playing 35 minutes. He's like the Aaron McKee of the 01 Sixers. Yeah. He's hitting a lot of corner threes in this game. So the other categories for the Heat Check Award, Terry Funk.
Spectacular throughout.
From what I gathered, just improv'd every single line he spoke in it. Jeff Healey. Emmett, who's played by Sunshine Parker, who's the old guy that Dalton rents the loft from.
Simple farmer.
Marshall Teague, who plays Jimmy, who's kind of like the bizarro Dalton.
Yeah.
To the point where he's kind of got like a similar hair, but it's jet black, and he's...
Total missed opportunity to have shaved in lines on the side.
Yeah.
He definitely should have gone
if this is made in 2019, he's got the high top fade, the swept back fade kind of haircut, kind of like the Conor McGregor look. He's definitely... He might be played by Conor McGregor, too. Oh, there you go. And then my final one, which... I mean, this is my personal favorite, but I won't be offended if you pick someone else. The guy who pays $20 to kiss the woman's breasts, who early on in the movie, during the opening scene when Dalton goes to the double deuce, random guy at the bar says that a woman has a nice pair of breasts, and her boyfriend or husband or
some
dad, who knows,
dude, yeah,
says, I'll pay you $20 to kiss him. And he, are you serious? And that's how he performs that line.
Yes.
Starts just touching him, and then when the guy says, why won't you kiss him? He says, I can't because I ain't got $20. And then that guy becomes offended. Yeah, and it starts a fight.
Turns into an absolute...
That guy, he showed up on set and was like, all right, I've got 3 lines. And he throws 3 fastballs, and they average at 115 miles an hour. That dude is going for it.
That's a great choice.
Who do you have, though?
Look, Jeff Healey and the music really sets the mood for the music to a point where it's only halfway through that you realize, is he part of a house band? The restaurant or the bar is getting upgraded, but he's still here.
He has a residency Celine Dion.
He also knows Dalton from before, but he seems very settled here. There's a lot of fluctuation. It's great roadhouse music.
Yeah, and
which has some witticisms throughout.
Which it's what impressed me, that the fact that they didn't play Roadhouse Blues by the Doors until the hour 15 mark.
Right, they stayed off the chalk.
Yeah, they knew it. I'll go Jeff Healey. That's good. He does a lot with his times given, despite the fact that he's essentially just playing Jeff Healey.
And he's Canadian.
But, yes, which I still refuse to believe. The more you know. I still refuse to believe that. All right, best quote. So I'm going to just rattle off all these Dalton lines, and then I have 2 others that are non-Dalton lines. I want you to be nice until it's time to not be nice. The iconic Pain Don't Hurt. I love Nobody Ever Wins a Fight. Take the biggest guy in the world, shatter his knee, and it'll drop like a stone. Great yearbook quote for that one.
File that one away.
And then when he first talks with Cody, so you play pretty good for a blind white boy. Yeah, and I thought you'd be bigger. Which
just witty banter.
It's just the running gag that Dalton should be bigger. I love You're Too Stupid to Have a Good Time. We'll get to that scene later. My Way or the Highway. So those round out the Dalton quotes. And then Jimmy, his infamous I used to fuck guys like you in prison line during the river fight. And then Wade Garrett saying quite possibly the most romantic line in movie history. That gal's got entirely too many brains to have an ass like that.
And look, I think they shoehorned the line in because Kelly Lynch doesn't have, like, she's not knocking anybody over with her ass.
They pan to her ass, and it's like nothing.
Yeah, so, all right, there's a lady walking away.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a great line. It's just
So, what do you think is
not
the
applicable.
best quote in the movie? I'm assuming you took some notes.
Check my notes here. So you covered a lot of the ones that I had. I think I overvalue. I buy high on Sam Elliott quotes. So even things that aren't like remarkable, I'm like, God, that's cool. And I can't tell if it's just because Sam Elliott said it, but like Sam Elliott's sitting there at probably like the ass crack of dawn, drinking a beer in a diner, and saying that dog won't hunt.
Yeah,
that's a great phrase.
I should get that etched for you, like on like pillows.
That dog won't hunt. Also, like I said before, Terry Funk in the opening scene throwing a dude out of the double deuce while saying "Don't come back, Peckerhead." And then you mentioned that there was some Terry Funk ad lib or
the
quote suggestion.
The scene where Dalton goes in and the bartender, who's been fired because he's been skimming from the bar, but it turns out he's Brad Wesley's nephew.
Dun dun dun.
Yeah, because as we find out, everyone in this town's somehow related to each other. Yes. Demands to get rehired, turns into a fight, which leads to Dalton getting stabbed, which leads to him meeting Kelly Lynch. But anyway, during this fight, the bartender calls Dalton a chicken dick, which apparently was not in the original script.
Mostly because no one would ever think to write that.
Except for Terry Funk, who suggested that line be used. It was used and then kept in the original. The director, Rowdy Harrington, because of course this movie was directed by a guy named Rowdy, was apparently heard that and was like, yes, brilliant.
Makes total sense.
My favorite quote, though, I mean, pain don't hurt is obvious.
Yeah, pain don't hurt's the chalk, right?
Yeah, that's the chalk. If you want to be cute with it, I think you go, I want you to be nice until it's time to not be nice. I think that's a pretty good one.
Yeah. It's a pretty good ethos quote for the character.
Because as we learn, Dalton has a degree in philosophy.
Right.
And he did a lot of searching for faith and that kind of shit.
Yeah.
Here's some trivia facts that I learned from IMDb. According to Kelly Lynch, whenever Bill Murray sees her sex scene with Patrick Swayze on television, he calls her husband Mitch Glazer to tease him about it. Just felt like adding that in there. Seems like something. Just the idea of Bill Murray watching Roadhouse on TV is just something to think about.
In and of itself.
Yeah.
Could be a podcast.
Annette Bening was originally cast as Doc, but she was replaced by Kelly Lynch, who was under contract with United Artists. However, Lynch claims that Bening was fired due to her lack of chemistry with Patrick Swayze.
You got to be on point with Swayze.
I mean, Annette Bening in this movie, like, I don't know. Like, I don't think that works.
You and I are both very pro-Lynch here. So.
Yeah. Patrick Swayze's handsomeness apparently caused a lot of problems during filming. A pickup truck containing a group of middle-aged blonde women attempted to drive right up to the star's trailer to meet the actor. During the big fight by the river, a raft of Swayze-loving lazy ladies sailed by. A female extra playing a waitress was too busy staring at Swayze to watch where she was going in trips, spilling all of her drinks on another extra. So, this is when Swayze, I mean, is just throwing 100. Like, he's
top of his game.
Yeah, he's definitely the hottest actor out there, and it's apparently causing some issues on filming. He also had bodyguards during filming because female fans kept trying to mob him. So he actually had to have some sort of security export.
Look, who among us hasn't had to employ other people to protect us from...
I mean, I've done it.
From trips.
I'll do it again. Swayze did almost all of his own stunts, including the entire first half of the movie is all Swayze. However, at one point, he hurt his knee to the point where it had to get drained periodically throughout the movie. This knee injury, him having to heal that, forced him to turn down roles in Predator 2 and the role of Gabriel Cash in Tango and Cash.
Wow.
So it was originally going to be, by the way, Tango and Cash on the docket for a possible podcast at some point.
Absolutely. It's fantastic.
So that was originally going to be Stallone and Swayze instead of Stallone and Russell. I don't know if that's a better movie, worse movie.
That's tough.
Swayze and Drag sneaking out of the club. That adds a whole. That's much more believable.
It will be interesting to rewatch Tango and Cash now knowing that information.
Yeah. And then the final one is, I just thought this was cool. When Dalton first shows up at the Double Deuce, he stands at the end of the bar next to a post. On the post is carved Buddy's Corner, and Buddy was apparently Patrick Swayze's nickname. That was a nice little...
There you go.
Nice little trivia thing to have. All right, so this...
Not much to take away from that other than that. It's just a nice piece of trivia.
All right, so this next part is something that you and I do for every movie we ever watch ever, which is we think if this movie was made today, if they decided to remake this movie, who plays the main characters? So we're going to do this for Roadhouse. I have 4 characters. We're going to try to figure out who stars as that character in the 2019 remake. The first one is Dalton. Now, I feel like this is the time to mention that apparently, ever since 2015, a Roadhouse remake has been in the works with Ronda Rousey playing Dalton. So they do the gender switch. Let's assume that movie will never be made, because I really don't think it will.
We're going, no.
So if...
Is Ronda Rousey, objectively, is Ronda Rousey still famous anymore?
Yeah, she's... You mean the current reigning WWE Raw Women's Champion? Yes.
I didn't know if like her stock took a hit when she got,
No.
lost her title, kind of.
I think she's just in a different. She's not as mainstream as she was before, but she's still a name.
She's in entertainment now more than sport.
Yes. Good. So let's just assume Dalton is still being played by a male. Who is playing Dalton?
Is he like a Chris Pine playing a Dalton?
I mean, I feel like Chris, I feel like is kind of a chalk.
Well, yeah. I mean,
answer.
Hollywood's Chris's at this point are like the go. Like we could be casting directors literally.
Well, I take that back. The most chalk answer is just saying like Statham or The Rock. Like that's the most chalk, but.
I don't think they have the range to pull off.
I was just gonna say that. I don't see The Rock
having... You need to be an actual actor.
I don't think The Rock has a degree of philosophy out of NYU.
Right.
Which Dalton has.
Also, he makes movies about, like, earthquakes and him jumping out of helicopters.
If we'll go in Chris's... I mean, Chris Pine is probably my sneaky... He's my top of the Hollywood Chris list. I don't see... him pulling that off. I could see... I mean, if we're picking just out of... Are we just picking Hollywood Chris's?
No, it doesn't have to be. No.
God, who could play Dalton? Jeez Christ. This is like...
It's a role that's so intrinsically... wrapped with Swayze that you can't separate it from.
Because, all right, well, let's ask this. This will help me narrow it down. If it's remade, is it remade a la, like, Starsky and Hutch? That they're like, this is kind of an homage to the time period. The people making it are big fans of Roadhouse, so they kind of want to give a hat tip? Or is this getting remade in the Miami Vice? Of like, we're just updating this.
I think it has to be remade as an 80s movie. It doesn't work otherwise.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you can't remake this movie in the 2000s because Red's Auto Supply, like, no one's going to buy something at an auto supply store. So, I mean, that's kind of goofy. Also, not that there weren't guns in the 80s, but everyone would just have guns instead of a knife fight or, like... It would just be that, right? Like, I mean, that's just the way Hollywood writes scripts at this point. You need to go almost... We talk about this all the time. Is it going to be shot for shot Is it going to be just era specific, or is it going to be total update? I think we don't need a shot for shot because Swayze makes so many of the scenes himself.
Yeah.
But I think it definitely needs to be set in 1989.
All right, or at least in that era. Like, even if you update it, I would say even if you make it just, like, in the 90s, and you do a slightly, like, you're still...
Pre-cell phone era.
Yeah. Well, like, I don't think any movie that's made before cell phones, like, if you remake it, it has to, like, cell phones can't exist, just period. It would solve too many problems. I could see, actually, I could see maybe, like, I could see Chris Pratt doing it, but he'd probably be doing it almost too comical.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think. I mean, the turn of Swayze after he's ripped out his second throat, right?
Yes,
and it just the bloodlust is on. He's just in this barn punching a 2x4, and even Sam Elliott's saying, "Look, guy, you've gone too far. Let's get the hell out of here."
Yeah.
I don't know that Pratt can kind of flip the switch there and just seem like a crazed maniac.
Now that I'm thinking, I could see Chris Pine, because he is kind of known for, like, whenever he does any movie with Joe Conahan, like if you've ever seen the movie Stretch, Chris Pine has long hair and a long beard and just plays this insane person. Like, Chris Pine can go weird, and I think if you give him Dalton, he'd really kind of have some fun with it and could kind of let loose a little. So we got Chris Pine as Dalton.
Now,
who do you?
I could also see someone like a Michael B. Jordan of the world.
If you see, I was thinking if you go
a guy that's you think about it. Your priority when casting this role is to find a guy who is terminally cool. Yeah. Just like oozes coolness.
And then you
backfill in
when
the
we're
acting.
watching the opening credits and they go to the first bar he's working at and the camera pans and it's just Swayze standing with his arms crossed. I believe you even said like, I'll never be that cool.
No, like you just can't. It's just natural.
I could see Michael B. I could definitely see that. And that would at least, it would add a different take because it would be mixing up the race a little bit. That would be awesome. Michael B. as a bouncer too. He could stay swole, which he loves doing with all the Creed movies. I'm pro Michael B. So I'm into that. Wade Garrett, who's replacing Sam Elliott?
Hear me out. It's Sam Elliott. How old's Sam Elliott these days?
He was 45 when he made this movie, and it was
30 years ago.
Yeah, 30 years ago.
Think about it. He calls it Miho. It's perfect. Miho, son. It's excellent.
Hear me out. I realized this watching this, and this is playing off of a movie that came out this year. You get Bradley Cooper, and you have him go full Jackson Maine A Star Is Born, where he's more or less just doing a Sam Elliott impression anyway, and you have him as the mentor to young Michael B. You have him grow with the hair, grow with the beard. He walks with a limp. I mean, come on.
Has Cooper ever been in a fight scene?
A-Team. He fights Liam Neeson at some point.
Face.
Yeah, but still. He's still done action movies before.
Is A-Team his only action movie?
I count A-Team as an action movie.
Obviously, it's an action movie. Has he done other action movies?
I mean, do you count Sniper as an action movie?
Always.
Okay, yeah, then he was an American Sniper. Like,
it's a great point. He
Yeah.
can do whatever he wants. He's an American patriot.
so my vote's for Cooper for Wade Garrett.
I think Brad Garrett should play Wade Garrett.
Well, I'm reading because Brad Wesley, who plays the cartoony villain.
There's a bunch of...
There's only one, I think, person.
All right, you give me yours. Then I'll follow.
Nicolas Cage.
It's almost too on point.
Nothing Nicolas Cage does is too on point.
I mean, like you're right. That's the kind of almost overacting you're looking for. Right?
Exactly.
Just
if this is taking place in early 90s, and we're leaning into the overacting kind of cheesiness that Roadhouse brings. Nicolas Cage possesses all of that. Because it would be awesome, because Nicolas Cage will think he's doing, like, a serious movie.
Right. He would look at himself as being like, I'm this mobster in Missouri. You see, I could also see, like, a younger casting for that.
Okay.
Now, are you familiar with Ozark?
Yes.
Could you see, like, a Bateman? Like, a guy who can just turn it on and just be kind of crazy and a little unhinged. Like, imagine he's end of season 2 Bateman in Ozark the entire movie.
I would. All right,
where he's like kind of aloof, but in like a weird way.
I'm into Bateman because if it's, I'm thinking the final fight scene when it's Dalton versus Gazera.
When I'm thinking of the casting, I'm going from that scene and working backwards.
So Michael B. versus Nicolas Cage, I feel like still possesses the same problems that happened in this original movie. That you have prime Patrick Swayze against 60-year-old Ben Gazzara, and Gazzara is like hanging in there and like throwing some shots in. Not believable if it's Michael B. in his prime and Nick Cage. If it's Bateman, I feel like he's at least a little younger. He doesn't have a lot of miles on him because he doesn't really do action movies.
And you tweak the script so instead of Wesley building the town up, you go, my dad built this town. Like, I mean, you just do the same.
He's
the kid.
Yeah.
He's the kid. And that's why he's got all the cousins working for him. He's got the henchmen. He's a child of privilege.
Little.
Plus Bateman's like 50 at this point.
I was gonna say, you throw Justine Bateman in for like a little bit of a cameo as like a wink wink. Yeah, that could work. And finally, who's playing Doc? Who's replacing? Do you have to go a black actress because it's Michael B. as Dalton?
No,
or can you just do you want to be a trailblazer and dare to have a movie where a black male actor gets together with a white woman?
Yeah. I think the whole casting book is wide open on this one.
Right.
Do you have any favorites in the clubhouse?
I was thinking of a lot of the kind of auxiliary women that are in it, the ones that are just kind of pop up, like the good supporting people.
Right.
I mean, I feel like for the Doctor,
it can't be too big of a name or personality. You know what I mean? Because it's kind of like it's not a
it's a nothing role.
Right. There's not much there, right?
Yeah. You could.
She's a doctor, but she never has any lines that make you think, "Oh, this chick's smart."
Yeah.
Other than
you're a bouncer. She's a doctor because we've been told she's a doctor.
Right. And he picks her from the hospital.
Yeah, that's basically it.
Then drinks with her, and then she goes back to work.
Yeah.
The doctor thing is problematic.
We're getting to nitpicks is the next category. I don't know who you have for the doc. You could kind of really. The thing is that it kind of says a lot about Hollywood. I feel like every 6 months there's like a new hot young actress. So I feel like you just pick.
Yeah, I mean, you could almost go whoever's hottest at the time.
Yeah.
You could go like a Leighton Meester, like someone who has a little bit of name recognition, not the draw.
Blake Lively, or there we go, Done. She kind of looks like Kelly Lynch a little.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong.
All right. I mean, I always say ScarJo because I would just watch her in anything, but that's if we got to mix it up, sure, Blake Lively or.
I really think of all of the three that we've done, and this isn't because we're misogynists, but it's because we're looking at this as an action movie, not so much the romantic angle.
What if you went to someone who's used to doing really heavy duty stuff, and you just basically give them kind of like what we're doing with Cooper, look, this is just an easy paycheck, it's not a lot.
Right? Yeah.
What if you went like a Gal Gadot as the doctor?
I think she's just too strong of a personality.
She's kicking Bateman's ass, and not.
Right. Yeah, I mean,
I'm just thinking
the relationship,
the on-screen relationship of Adonis Creed and Wonder Woman is every fan fiction come to life.
My goodness. We need to move on before this becomes a topic of
I'll also
conversation.
throw out Margot Robbie. It's just
Yeah.
someone else who like, yeah, sure. Oh, she's in it. Okay, yeah, I'm in. I'll check this out.
Zoe Deschanel, go.
Yeah.
Fetching.
Nitpicks. How does everyone know which car is Dalton's?
Yeah, I mean, especially since all those guys got thrown out while the club was
Yeah.
still open. So it's not like, oh, he's the last car left.
Yeah.
Didn't have any plates that would have identified
No.
it as the out-of-town
Like
guy.
his license plate isn't like cooler one. Like it's not obvious that it's his. My favorite kind of little scene in the movie, Dalton seeing a knife in a guy's boot from across the room.
Yeah, he just clocked it.
So Wesley's goons come into the Double Deuce after they turn things around, and Dalton is standing across the room and goes to one of the other bouncers and says, "That guy, right foot, right boot," and it's like, no, that's just not happening. We kind of pointed this out about how everyone in town is related to each other. Red Webster, the owner of the auto parts store, being the Doc's uncle and also raising her after her parents died.
This is exactly why you don't need a real Hollywood actress for that role. I don't know if that was part of the script that got cut for time, if it was a scene that got cut and is on a cutting room floor somewhere. The reference to her parents dying and her being raised by her uncle that then goes completely uncorroborated.
Do you think
no further explanation?
Think they added that because they were like, why would this hottie be in Jasper, Missouri? So they needed to think of a reason of why this smart, attractive doctor would be in town.
They set her up as coming across. I mean, she's wearing a picnic blanket at one point. They set her up as like the hometown all-American girl. There's no reason you don't need to fit her in.
She's homecoming queen.
Yeah, you assume that girl who's probably the smart one in high school is now a doctor in the town hospital. There's no and if the shtick is everyone in town hates Ben Gazzara because he's the bad guy, then you don't need to make them related for her to feel sympathy for Red.
Yeah.
Totally unnecessary. Like a weird... Other than... It would make more sense, right? Because Dalton sees this, the picture of her, the awkward, like, glamour shot of her in the auto parts store. He says he notices it and then only just mentions it kind of in passing to her.
Yeah.
It's never like he asks Red, hey,
he never brings
set me up with your...
He never brings it up to him.
Yeah.
Like, why do you have her photo? I know her.
Yeah, just I don't know if it's a whole. It's just kind of unnecessary.
Yeah. Another nitpick. Wesley, wants to get rid of Dalton. He's the bane of his existence. Lives across the lake from Dalton.
Yeah.
Has unlimited resources. Doesn't just shoot him from across the lake or anything.
Right.
And then the final one is, like, I understand it's the plot of the movie. Just the fact that these bouncers are, like, famous. Wade Garrett shows up in the bar, and everyone knows, oh my God, you're Wade Garrett. Like,
the whole premise...
This is pre-internet.
Well, and here's the thing, is that it's never couched as they're famous in the Midwest, or they're famous in this state.
No.
They're universally known and understood, right? Everyone's heard the name,
Dalton
if not seen the face.
walks into the Double Deuce, and every bouncer is talking to each other, telling a different Dalton story.
Yes. I literally had jotted down, if you're doing fantasy bouncers, it's a 1-2 pick. You choose. Can't go wrong either way, right?
Yeah.
Like, and that's just accepted. That's what everyone knows and is like fawning over, which I don't know if that's grounded in reality.
Like, look, we've been to a lot of bars. I never looked up to the bouncers, and I feel like everyone in this movie looks up to Dalton or Sam Elliott.
Well, and I will expand on this just because it's a note I had. It's not only the people in the service industry who are seeing this bouncer as like, wow, he's at the top of his game. You'll remember in the opening scene, the fight at his first bar that Dalton breaks up is with a guy who says, I'm coming for you, Dalton, and tries to stab him. Right? So, like, he knows that he's the best and wants to take him out just because of that.
Do you think that was like in an Inigo Montoya situation where, like, that guy just kept going to bars until he found Dalton?
And, like, he legit stabs him.
Yeah.
There's like that should be the running joke, is like that he's just all
He
cut
just
up.
keeps getting stabbed?
Like, more than just, like, the reference. Like, that is a legitimately funny reference. Like, why do you bring your medical records? Just more convenient.
Yeah.
Like,
it's quicker that way.
Right. But, like, that should be ongoing.
Yeah.
He should be, like, constantly getting medical attention.
Well, I think they said, and this would definitely happen if it was remade today, with how movies today love, like, the quick cuts, so, you know, the snap zooms. When she starts listing his injuries, it's like 9 stabbings, 2 gunshots, 31 broken bones.
Flashback.
We're getting a flashback montage of all those
just
injuries.
rib punch. Just
Yeah.
be awesome. Plus, there would absolutely, and this might be the biggest miss in the movie, is that if you aren't paying attention in the first 20 minutes, you miss everyone knows Dalton, and everyone knows that Dalton ripped a dude's throat out before.
Yeah.
And, like, then you forget about it for 40 minutes, and then all of a sudden he's ripping a dude's throat out, and you're not making connection that he's done it before.
I mean,
There needs to be a flashback when he's, like, he wakes up in a cold sweat, and it's him ripping a throat out.
Yeah.
Or a further dive into when Sam Elliott is telling him it's not his fault.
Yeah.
He didn't know the wife, you know, the guy, the chick had a husband.
Yeah.
There needs to be some sort of flashback of him, like, getting ripped out of bed by some dude.
They keep making reference to this thing that happened in Memphis where apparently there was a police report and it was self-defense, but it never really taps into that. And yeah, I definitely feel like we need to know more about the Dalton backstory. But then again, that's what, you know, we talked about, that this movie was kind of inspired by, like, Wild West tales.
He just comes and goes.
He's like a man with no name, you know? He just kind of...
If that's the way we're going to look at this movie, I can definitely buy it.
Yeah. All right. Unanswerable questions. Who are the contractors that we did the Double Deuce? Just an unbelievable great job by those guys. And, like, do you think this is like a bar rescue situation where Dalton has, like, his group of guys he brings to every bar? Does it go by town?
I think that this owner, in going out and finding Dalton, paying him $5,000 up front and $500 a night,
Yeah.
is the equivalent of a major league owner saying, I've got money to spend, let's go build a team, right?
Yeah.
He's signaling that I'm going to put the money into it if I can get the foundation set, right? So the foundation has got to clear out the riffraff and get back to even.
Yeah.
So I view it as the owner kind of using Dalton to build a pond.
You just mentioned it. Dalton is paid $5,000 up front and $500 a night. We did the inflation calculation, basically just doubling. So he's getting $10,000 in 2019 money. He's getting $10,000 up front, $1,000 a night. How long was Dalton there?
I mean, I think it's safe to...
The movie is always in the summer.
It's always in the summer.
So it's under 3 months.
Right, so let's just call it 3 months. Let's say it takes him a quarter.
Okay. So he's pulling... He's waking in some change.
Well,
some
I
coin.
think it's important that we set the standard of how many nights a week is he working. We talked about
So
this.
we were trying to figure this out. We figured the Double Deuce is clearly just a bar/club. Food is never served there, so it's not like a bar restaurant. So we're thinking it's probably only open on the weekends.
So we'll say Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So
Yeah.
it's 3 days a week at $1,000 inflation adjusted numbers. $3,000 a week times 12 weeks. So he's making $36,000 just on the salary.
Plus the 10 grand.
Plus the 10. So he's pulling in, $36,000 and subtracting his expenses of
$100 a month, so minus $300.
You never see him eat.
Well, he goes to that diner, but he's
only drinking like a Miller High Life.
Yeah, he has coffee. He might not eat on just eat food. He just
that's how you stay shredded.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, he's pulling in so let's say like 45 grand for 3 months work. Like that's pretty good. Like that's actually like a reasonable. Yeah, no. That actually checks out. Like that's the scariest thing about this. That his wages actually makes the most sense about this movie.
Here's a way to make this movie sound a lot less exciting. He's basically just a consultant.
Yeah.
Right? If he didn't kill anyone.
Which, by the way, if this movie, we mentioned him, if this movie was remade, John Taffer of Bar Rescue at least has a cameo.
Well, yeah.
Where after the bar's turned around,
at least
after the bar gets turned over, he might just be the bar owner.
Now, but that would be an interesting casting.
If not, there's definitely the scene when the owner is walking around talking with his customers. Definitely seen when Taffer is there doing like the, hey, good job, guy!
Yeah, he's just the bar guy.
Yeah. And the final unanswerable question I have is, did the doctor and Dalton move into Gazzara's house after he was murdered by the entire town?
That's a great question.
Or did they just keep renting out of Emmett's barn? I imagine they moved into the house.
I mean, it's a bloodbath. There's body parts all over.
Yeah, but I imagine everyone in town kind of pitches in.
Right.
And then they're like, what do they should do? And they should probably like give Dalton the house, and he's like, oh, I don't need that. And then Kelly Lynch kind of convinces him to get it, and they move in.
They live happy ever.
Yeah. Before we get to the final category,
I have some unanswered.
Yeah. Go through anything in your notes that we haven't touched on.
Some of these are I'll start with the questions, and I'll get to the rest of the stuff. Some of these aren't so much unanswerable as rhetorical. Remember when people had to go to stores like Red Auto Supplies?
Yeah.
I mean, just, hey, order me a windshield. And you'll notice that windshield never gets replaced.
No.
This isn't an Amazon Prime 2-day turnaround type, John. This is, he's going to a store and the store blows up, so the order's gone.
Yeah, he never gets a new windshield.
Has any other white person looked as cool doing Tai Chi?
No.
I mean, it's pretty excellent. Why are there so many knives in Roadhouse? Was Missouri in the 80s just only not like? Then it ultimately ends in a gun battle.
Like, okay, so the one guy has
karate.
The knife boot, which I imagine would just be like the end of like a razor, like taped to the bottom of it, because it doesn't like come out or anything like that.
No, it's not like he clicks his heel and.
So there's that knife. The guy in the beginning has like a little switchblade. That's all. I'm on board with all of that. The one guy, I believe it's the fight when the chicken dick fight.
Yeah, he gets hired. The guy gets hired back.
The knife that guy pulls is like a Crocodile Dundee Bowie knife.
Yes,
like it is.
That guy looked like Davy Crockett defending the Alamo with it. It was way too much. But as I mean, it's just like a comical amount of blades. And like they're really swinging.
And then it all ends with Gazzara wielding a spear at the end.
Yeah, there's a weird...
As the movie keeps going, the stabbing implements just get bigger and bigger.
So those are at least the notes with question marks I have. I'll just scan through quickly. We referenced how Dalton, kind of under the radar, has a degree from NYU. His car has it.
Oh, yeah, that was one of the unanswerables I had was, where's Dalton from originally? Where was he raised? Because he went to NYU, so that means he's an East Coast kid. And is he from, like, Brooklyn?
Right.
Because that would play into, like, the Michael B. thing. That would kind of make a little bit more sense.
He escapes the city out to the heartland.
Yeah, and he goes,
bouncing, roaming from town to town. Opening bar fight, Double Deuce is excellent. Dalton's first staff meeting is a masterclass in leadership.
Yeah, you're right. I should have.
It was like Dwight D. Eisenhower speaking to the Allied forces. He's firing that guy.
I should have put that. I should have put that into the most rewatchable scene. That scene is great, and I didn't put this in my trivia because I didn't kind of think it was right, but apparently certain police forces, there was some police force had like their training video, and in order to make sure people were paying attention, spliced in that scene.
It's excellent. The whole concept of be nice until it's time not to be nice is
his 3 rules are: never underestimate an opponent, never start a fight inside the bar. Always take it outside and be nice until it's time to not be nice. Lessons for life.
There's a note that shows up multiple times, right? Starting with this scene where he fires a guy who is on his break, slamming can in the back room, all the way through Dalton enjoying himself some Kelly Lynch on the roof of a barn, and then ultimately ending with him skinny dipping in a pond. There is just so much...
He murdered a guy,
right, a crime scene days before. There is so much gratuitous ass in this movie. And a majority of it is man ass.
Not just man ass, Swayze ass.
But think about it. And even when it's not man ass, you get a shot of Sam Elliott from the navel down, unzipping his pants, showing you an appendix scar.
The one thing which apparently was caused by a woman. We never hear the backstory of that.
Right, and like she ID's like, oh, of course, he's like, yeah.
The one scene highlight, you mentioned the guy who's slamming cans on his break. I do love how the woman just kind of pulls the skirt up, lifts the shirt up. The guy goes
totally naked. That's what I mean.
The guy goes full nude for some reason. Like, that actor was like, look, I've been working out for this role. I really got to show off.
So much of it is just unnecessary. I mean, you can say, like, all right, Swayze's the draw of the movie, so we're never going to find a way to have him get out of bed and do, like, the old morning stretch totally nude. Like, we're going to make it work. But there's a lot of other flesh in that movie.
Yeah.
It's like, it'd be almost uncomfortable. I mean, there's a whole scene where Ben Gazzara just stares, like, longingly forward as his pseudo-love interest is oogled and then groped and then ultimately tries to kiss his rival in a bar. It's a very strange movie from that.
And whatever happened to her? That's the last we see of her.
And here's the thing. There was a scene where it's like he walks in, she's doing her weird herky-jerky yoga, and she's black and blue, like she's been awfully abused. Never referenced, never fixed. Well,
she makes a move on Dalton, and then Jimmy is like, no.
He puts her in the...
And I'm assuming he's the one who beats her.
I got you.
But still, just that's never touched upon. We can't get that scene where she's working at the Double Deuce now. Dalton's found her a job.
Oh, that's what I mean. There's just no ending to it. The last note I had, and just a fun little piece of trivia, since Sam Elliott's so cool in the movie. His introduction scene, he has to hop off the phone because he has to go break up a bar fight that's breaking out at his strip club. But really, after all this setup about how he's the best, he's the guy that taught Dalton, the first action you see him in is he just outright punches a dude right in the dick. That's it. I mean, and the camera zooms in on it like, that's a guy who's willing to fight dirty. There's no honor among thieves.
Not even that. The best part of that whole scene is, you pointed out, they're stopping, Wesley's guys are stopping the alcohol, the booze delivery. Everyone's fighting Swayze except for the one guy who's like, damn it, our job here is smash these bottles.
And he's the biggest guy.
Yeah.
It makes
and
no
then
sense.
Elliot shows up and, walks out. Everything he does is in slow motion because he's the coolest guy
saunters
and
out to this
the big guy, who I think's one of the henchmen from Ace Ventura, is like...
He's got a henchman.
Yeah, and he's like, what do you want a piece of this? And then his line back is like, well, I'm certainly not going to show you my dick. And then instantly punches him straight in the cock. Just BAM! And then, taking advice from Dalton, showing you where Dalton learned this from, kicks him straight in the kneecap and takes him down like a stone. That is good screenwriting right there.
It is. I mean, we've done the exercise where we've tried to stumble our way through recasting. It really is just an excellently casted film.
Final category. There's only one nominee for this. Who won the movie? I mean, Swayze.
Yeah, I mean, he carries.
If this is, if movies were basketball games. This is the equivalent of the Kobe 81 point game against Toronto. I mean, he is just...
Yeah, I mean, look.
Every scene from jump, he's the coolest guy in the room. But also the toughest guy, but also the most mysterious, but also the most attractive.
Yeah, he's the perfect
I'm
mix.
including Cully Lynch in that. He's still prettier.
But if you're the casting director, there's not a guy you could get that would check all those boxes the way that he did. You could have gone out and got a Cruz, right, who's in his heyday at that point. You could have gotten Charlie Sheen, who's, young and not completely insane at this point. I think it starts, and this is for Sam Elliott as well, it starts with the cool factor, and then you just kind of work backwards from there.
Yeah.
That's the whole premise of the movie.
Roadhouse, so good.
Totally badass.
Yeah, totally. Thanks for coming back on the podcast. You still got the fastball, big guy. You still got it in you. You'll probably be doing a few more of these at some point.
Yeah, we'll find some more flicks.
Yeah, we'll find. There's plenty of Swayze and Kurt Russell to go around. Thanks for listening, everyone. Check back again soon. Should be doing another one of these with our buddy Brian Falanke. Believe we'll break it down Major League in honor of baseball season.
There you go.
Back
That'll
up.
be a good
So
one.
yeah, it's gonna be a good one. All right, thanks everyone. See ya.